of enlightenment. And that's what I always feel about Berkeley. I love coming back here and seeing the campanile and knowing that I've come home and that there's a light hovering over this place. And it's made up of all you people who are here and all. But that light is going out. This is really the end game now. So that's why I'm so glad you're here. I want to give you a little example of how that works. I came back late in life to do my dissertation, which is, as was just said, is highly critical of the university. And yet, it was not only my doctoral dissertation, but then it was published by UC Press. Now, and they love the book, you know. This doesn't happen in other places, and it wouldn't happen if you were, or if I was working in the corporate world. Say I was working for Wells Fargo, and I wrote a book that was very critical of the bank's history and of its management. I wouldn't be working there very long. What if I thought about writing a letter to the editor? I'd think twice about that, or generally I probably wouldn't think about it at all if it was something provocative, because that's what Ursula Le Guin calls the Stalin in the soul, that stops you from doing something that might be disadvantageous to your economic well-being. But we still have that light here, and I hope we can maintain it, because as the university morphs from being an institution of education to a vocational school, that's going to change, along with everything else. Okay, so it's for its entire 142-year history, the University of California has served the wealthiest businessmen of this state very well as a taxpayer-supported R&D facility. Its graduates have gone out into the world to serve as their mining engineers, their attorneys, their doctors, their inventors, their weapons designers, and their business associates. It was such a sweet deal for them for so long that you have to ask the question, why are they now destroying all of California's public education system, including this university which has served them so well? That's the question I've been asking myself. So make no mistake about it, that's what we've been doing ever since Howard Jarvis and Ronald Reagan began infantilizing Californians, persuading them that government is their enemy and that they shouldn't have to pay taxes. Now that was 30 years ago, and California has now become something like a car that's run out of gas, and all the driver can think of to do is to get out and kick the tires and scream at it. We've tried everything to keep it running, including encouraging gambling and then borrowing against anticipated revenue from gambling and borrowing against everything else. And of course we've shifted taxes onto those who can least afford to pay them, and many of them can't afford to pay them anymore, and we borrowed and we borrowed. This is no way to run a state. As Gillian Hart just said, we are a failed state. We did anything other than adding fuel to the tank, which would be actually returning to the progressive taxes that we used to have. We hoped that the repo man would never come. But now he's not only here, but he's hacking down the door with an axe, like Jack Nicholson trying to get at Shelley Duvall in the movie The Shining. I called this talk the Republic of Dunces for several reasons. Since we've destroyed our public education system, that's what we've made ourselves. Just listen to Fox-instigated morons at their teabag parties screaming that they want government out of their Medicare, their Social Security, and presumably their unemployment. They apparently want to live in some John Wayne fantasy with dirt roads and an outhouse and a well in the backyard very close to each other, and gunfights on Main Street to settle disputes, since the courts are, of course, government. And we don't want that. But the regents are a republic of dunces par excellence, because they're destroying the very institution that has served them so well for nearly 150 years. This is how stupid they are. They just raised your tuition 32%, all in one fell swoop. Anybody knows you boil the frog slowly, so it doesn't notice. But they certainly got your attention, didn't they? I'm very grateful to them for doing that. So who are the regents? Now this is a question that you should all ask since you write so many checks to them. They're supposed to represent the public interest and to keep the university insulated from politics, but of course that's just complete bullshit. They're appointed by the governor for 12-year terms, but since the governors have been Republicans for the last 26 years, with the very brief exception of Gray Davis, whom the Republicans then got rid of, so that Californians could elect a bionic action hero that they thought would save them from their own irresponsibility, they're overwhelmingly Republican, which is to say right-wing to extreme right-wing. They're also overwhelmingly rich. The going rate to be appointed a regent of the University of California is $50,000 paid to the governor's campaign fund or to the governor's party, but they welcome more money than that, and some regents have given more. I suspect that most of you wouldn't qualify. Few of them have any experience in public education, but that's perfectly okay. They have little patience for the kind of critical thinking that is ideally taught at a university, especially in the humanities and social sciences, which they of course don't favor, and especially critical thinking from their subordinates, and we are their subordinates. You can feel their contempt or their complete disinterest and boredom if you've ever attempted to speak to them at the exceptionally brief and pro forma public sessions that precede the meetings where they vote for what they've already decided to do. But more to the point, since many or most of them are true believers in the cockamamie religion of neoliberal economics, most of them are ideologically opposed to the public sector at all, public education included. You know the drill. Deregulate business, tax cuts for the wealthy, and privatize everything, and then say there is no alternative. Run everything more like a business. It's more efficient that way. Now the next profit center is education, since we're not making much of anything anymore, for those who can afford to get an education. It's television, speed, and prison for everybody else. Okay, neoliberal economics has worked just well, hasn't it? Those who so passionately believe in it nearly brought down the world's economy last year. Then they pulled their trucks up to the U.S. Treasury and helped themselves to trillions of dollars of our money, borrowed money, to make good their losses and then some. Now, anybody that smart is quite dumb enough to take down California's public education system, along with California itself, and that could very well take down the nation's and the world's economy with it. As if the recent cuts haven't been savage enough, Atherton billionaire Meg Whitman said when she announced her candidacy for Republican governor just a few days ago that she wants to cut another $15 billion from public services and fire 40,000 more state employees. Now, God, is she ever smart? So let's get back to those regions. Just who are they? We used to study them when I first came here in the late 60s. We did interlocking directorship charts. It's time to once again turn the university's great resources like a huge and superbly crafted microscope to an investigation of just who these people are and how they're using the university to their own advantage. Because trust me, I've researched them, they've always done that. One regent in particular needs to go under the microscope because ever since Gray Davis appointed him in 2002, he's largely dominated the others. That's Richard C. Bloom. Richard Bloom, after whom the university has named the Richard C. Bloom Center for Developing Economies, now going up on the north side because Bloom donated $15 million for a center for the study of the causes and remedies of poverty outside of this country. I'll come back to that. 15 million is about 2 million less than Bloom and his wife, Senator Dianne Feinstein, paid for their latest Pacific Heights palazzo just below their good friends, the Gettys. By my counting, it's one of their 6 mansions and condos.